Ebrebia member krom ha no saa station we ya na metie enti osofo afidie no to a ne tie be wate data Kennedy makram
to live and not know what state of God you are, it's a disaster. To not know your purpose is a tragedy, it's a disaster. To live and not know what state of God you are, it's a disaster. To not know your purpose is a tragedy, it's a disaster. You may tomorrow be gone, tomorrow may never come. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up to purpose for living now. That in this you will build your soul, in this you will be the difference, in this you will be the answer to the prayers of humanity.
Saturday, the 4th of September 2021.
Your soul, in this you,
and we're here once again on Mentoring Hour.
in this you will be the answer
Coming your way from One-to-One Mentoring Network.
to live and not know what state of God you
A
are.
body of professionals
Disaster.
that are seeking to give back to society.
To not
Today,
your purpose is a tragedy.
we have a topic of a moment.
Sunshine,
And we will be talking about
hep spins, the way
COVID vaccine hesitancy in pregnancy.
the purpose.
Well, even we who are not pregnant,
Hep spins, the wind
we are hesitating
beneath.
in taking the vaccine. So obviously,
The world is
our women who are pregnant
on you.
and they love their children so much,
Do you feel free?
they will be having some doubts here and there.
The world
I am very certain
is on you.
Dr. Stephanie Adeyemi,
Oh,
Dr. Abigail, and Jasmine will be able to put our women's mind to rest.
oh, shining so bright.
So stay with us today as we seek to address this very all-important topic. COVID vaccine hesitancy in pregnancy.
Tomorrow, man.
Well, I know some gentlemen.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
They are pregnant in their own way. They are also hesitating to take their vaccine. Abi, you know what I talk about, so.
And this you will be the answer to the
Hopefully, all those men
and this
will have their minds put to rest today.
and this you will be the
Anyway, that is Fafa Pepper's song.
be the answer to the
You need to know why you are here, and you live up to that.
and I know what
Right. Let's welcome our beautiful ladies this very morning. And then let's get things running. Hello, Jasmine. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Abigail. Excellent. Yes, I like the first smile. It always sets the ball rolling. Right? As I said, we, the able men, and even people who are not pregnant, are having issues concerning this COVID vaccine, let alone our pregnant women. I'll start right away with Dr. Abigail. Doc, tell us, why has this concern been prevalent among us? Has there been any occurrences where some women who are pregnant took the vaccine and they had some issues that are causing other people to be hesitant about?
Hi, Papa. Thank you for the question. So as far as we've had about 200,000 women get vaccinated in the US, and there's not been any safety concerns in terms of outcomes for the mother or for the baby. So there's no evidence from which all these concerns are being stemmed from. As you mentioned earlier, there seems to be a general hesitancy in the public, in the general public, about the vaccine, with people having all sorts of concerns about it, about its safety, about the speed at which it was developed, and not quite thinking that it can be safe for that reason. And I think this is just an extension of that general concern that happened.
Well. I think we're having some little connection issues with Dr. Abigail. Never mind. We'll move on to Dr. Stephanie Adeyemi. The name sounds familiar. I think she comes from my country, right? So we'll move on to Dr. Stephanie Adeyemi to also answer the same question. Hello, Doc. I think I'll bring you out of mute. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry about that. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I think just to continue on from what Dr. Abigail was saying, I think there's been a lot of misinformation spread about the vaccination. So a lot of people are concerned and worried, especially in pregnancy. I know when I was researching about the talk, some women had mentioned that previously officials had said that maybe it's not recommended in pregnancy, and now that's changed. So I think there's been a lot of confusion. But I think now that we have the data, we have the studies, we can see the evidence suggests that there is no concern in regards to women who are pregnant having the vaccination. In fact, it's a protective thing. We can see from the evidence that 98% of women who have been admitted to hospital are women who have not been vaccinated at all in terms of pregnant women. So we can see that women who are being vaccinated, it's protective for them, for their babies. And so it's something that we now, as doctors and all of the official kind of American and British colleges are advising that pregnant women do get the vaccination, that it's beneficial for them, it's beneficial for their babies. So I think this is why this kind of conversation is very important for us to have, especially as a community as well. As we can see from the data that Black and minority ethnic people were hit extremely hard by COVID. So it's important for us to have these discussions as well.
Okay, before I go back to Dr. Abigail, when I had my vaccine, I had some feverish conditions and what have you. In fact, that night I had it tough sleeping. May I know if a pregnant woman takes the vaccine, does the baby also have some of these little things in the womb, or the baby that is not affected in any way?
So from the literature I read, the evidence shows that the vaccine doesn't pass to the baby. The things that pass to the baby are the antibodies. So when the mother breastfeeds, the baby will get protection that way. So no, the baby shouldn't be impacted in that way through having the vaccination. From the literature that I read, that's my kind of understanding.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, now let's go back to Dr. Abigail. Doctor was telling us something, and let her round up on that one. Doc.
Hello, sorry about that. I think it's my internet connection. Yeah, so I was just saying that I think it's just an extension of the general concerns in the public that have extended to pregnant women, and them being an extremely vulnerable group who are concerned about their baby. Then obviously they are understandably hesitant to take the vaccine. But what we do know, as Steph was just saying, is that we do now know that the vaccine is safe for pregnant women to take, and not that just is safe, but is protective. It's protective against them getting serious infection from COVID-19. it reduces their risk of getting, if they do get a serious infection, the risk of their baby being born early or having a stillbirth, of even them themselves ending up in intensive care unit. So it's not even just about the vaccine being safe, it's recommended because it will give you generally a better outcome if you get the vaccine and prevent yourself from getting COVID-19 in pregnancy, particularly towards the last, the third trimester of the pregnancy.
All right, thank you very much. I'll go to you, Jasmine. I think Jasmine has been working with close to some of these children, so she will be able to tell us more as to some of the concerns that come her way. So, good morning, Jasmine, once again.
Good morning.
Excellent.
Papa.
Good to see you once again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Excellent. So tell us, what are some of the concerns that comes to you?
Yeah, so in day-to-day practice, the main concern coming from women is about the safety. Abigail said a woman thinking about herself, but you have that maternal instinct thinking about my baby and whether it's safe. And they were saying, oh, well, not enough studies have been done, or it's a new vaccine. And I do get it, that, as Dr. Stephanie said, that the initial recommendation was not, to have the vaccine initially. When, the vaccine rollout, it was focused on, elderly people in the community, and then had the sort of national rollout. So we didn't have the information. But it's not until, in April that, we had a lot of information from the United States. And as Dr. Abigail said, over 200,000 women now, 65,000 women now, currently in the UK, have now had the vaccine and with no adverse effects. So it has been that safety factor. And there have been concerns whether the vaccine is going to cross the placenta and is going to harm the baby. And we know there isn't any evidence, the vaccine does not cross the placenta, and but the good thing is that we get the protective effect of the antibodies. So it's about harming the baby. Can they also get COVID or contract COVID from the vaccine? So that's another thing that's been raised, and that's definitely not the case. So women cannot contract COVID. Other concerns around, we talked about breastfeeding and whether, again, it would cross through to the baby afterwards. And again, the vaccine does not go across it's not secreted in breast milk, but again, protective antibodies are in the breast milk and can protect the baby. So these are some of the main reasons that women are hesitant, as I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis. And in speaking to women, it's about sort of 50%, in terms of women who have had the vaccine and are actually thinking, or should they have it, should they not want to still defer it till after. So it's so important for us to make sure they've got accurate information, reassure them that, now lots of women have had the vaccine, it's safe, it's effective, and really to protect themselves from adverse outcome, for themselves, intensive care admission, preterm birth, stillbirth, now there are the additional risks, looking at blood pressure problems such as preeclampsia, increased risk of cesarean section, that's also coming through. In terms of, adverse effects for pregnant women. So it's so important that they have the facts and that they can get it from trusted sources. I think that's the important thing as well, not just listen to others, but, we can provide them with the information that they require from the Royal Colleges or from Public Health England to put them in the right, give them the right advice.
As Dr. Adeyemi said, from the literature that she read and from the data here and there, some people are also of the concerns that some of the places that they read about some of these issues, why they are hesitant to take the vaccine, they are also reading from doctors. They are medical experts that are saying all these things. So how do we match the two? Some people are saying it's okay, and some medical experts are also saying, no, don't take it. How do we merge the two?
Yeah, I think it's important for us as healthcare professionals to give accurate information. And I think, having done lots of reading as well and speaking to women, some of them are correct that, we've been responsible for some of this information in terms of giving accurate information. So there's a lot of support out there now for us as clinicians, for GPs, for midwives. We've had, to be able to support having these conversations with women, because we get it that they're hesitant, and we should be able to listen to them, and we should be able to provide that information. So I think now there's been a lot sent out by the colleges now. There are lots of leaflets. We've done lots of webinars. There are the online resources from the Royal College of Midwives, Royal College of Obstetricians, and to support us as health professionals to have these conversations and to provide accurate information. So I think now the uptake has increased, I think, over the last couple of months, I think by a third or so, which is good. So I think we do need to be giving right information to these women and not, contributing to the hesitancy.
Thank you very much for that. Right information. That is what we need. Dr. Stephanie, I think you are also on mute. Yes. Would you want to add anything to what Jasmine has said about same medical experts or some medical experts also giving us the similar information, but this time around telling us no, don't take the vaccine. It is not good for you. Do you have anything to add to that?
I would say it's important just to look at the sources you're getting the information from. I understand that there are some medical professionals who are expressing concern for people, or pregnant women, for example, having the vaccination. But I think it's important to look at maybe official websites. So the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, there are official American colleges as well. And when you look onto those pages, you can see that they clearly state that it's important for pregnant women to have the vaccination. And I think it's important maybe to look at the organizations that are giving out information. So rather than looking at kind of lone practitioners, look at royal colleges, look at official organizations, because I think that is where the best information can be found, I would say.
Okay, all right then. Dr. Abigail, a very important and interesting question here for you. Most of these things are coming from conspiracy theories, right? So this person was
from where?
It's conspiracy theories, right? Oh yes, conspiracy theories. So this person wants to find out. We know doctors are supposed to be caring for us, loving us, treating us and what have you. Are you also capable of killing us?
Is that in relation to the COVID-19 vaccine?
That's it. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think most people have probably heard of the Hippocratic Oath. And although we don't take it, we don't swear it at the end of medical school per se, which basically says that doctors will do good and not harm. That is embedded in everything that we do, all our teaching right from the beginning. And if we look at the medical ethics, we talk about doing good for the patients, not doing harm, and things like allowing them to have choice and autonomy, etc. So the very thing of not being able to harm the patient is something that I would hope that most doctors do ascribe to. Of course, we do know that there will always be some anomalies, just like in any profession, like Dr. Shipman. But the vast majority of doctors are committed to providing safe care to their patients and things that will enhance not just their health, but their well-being as well. So I think with relation to the COVID-19 vaccine, when we are advising women to take it, both outside and in pregnancy, and not just women actually, just members of the general public. This is based on the evidence that has come through that it is a safe thing to do, that it is protective against death, serious illness, ending up in ITU, etc. And therefore we can have that confidence to be able to recommend that to our patients, just like we would recommend to our own family members and to our own friends as well, and people in our community that we do know.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Let's go to Jasmine this time around. Another interesting question. He's asking, is it not too early to say that children are not going to be unborn children, as a matter of fact, are not going to be affected by the vaccine in any harmful way. I don't know the statistics that we have now. How many women who were pregnant have taken the vaccine, and how many of them have given birth? How long has it been? Is it not too early? Should we wait for the children to be about 5 years, 6 years, so we'll be able to tell exactly the impact of the vaccine on those children? Is it not too early to come to that conclusion that unborn babies and babies who are born to women who took the vaccine during pregnancy are still safe?
I think that's a very important question, and certainly, yeah, it's valid. And one could argue, yes, is it too early? But we can only go by what we have so far, and we know the vaccine rollout is new even for outside of the general population. For pregnancy, there's been lots of publications. I think even recently, I think the George's Hospital published something recently, and in terms of looking at the outcomes, and there have been no documented cases of any congenital defects or birth deformities in babies. And in terms of any outcomes for the women and for the babies, there have been no adverse outcome at all. So, of course, it'll be good to follow up these babies in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. And yes, we will have more information later on, but we can only go by, the data we have today, and to date, like the other effects and safety and efficacy of the vaccine in pregnancy, there have been no documented cases of abnormalities in the baby, and clearly being safe for the baby. So that's all we can tell women at this point in time. Some may be reassured by it, some may not be reassured, and that is probably contributing to some of the hesitancy that's going on. But from the data we have to date, we can say there are no ill effects.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that assurance. I told you, these wonderful women will be putting our minds to rest. So if you're pregnant, please get the booking done and go for your vaccine. Dr. Adeyemi, I'll come to you again. Is there any particular kind of vaccine pregnant women should avoid, or they should probably go for? Is it the AstraZeneca, the Pfizer, or what have you? Is there any particular they should go for, or they can go for any of them?
So the data has suggested that it's best for pregnant women to go for the mRNA vaccination. So Pfizer or Moderna is kind of the two vaccinations that have been highlighted in the data. So that's what I would recommend, looking at that.
Okay, you see, you know what is coming next. Why are they not supposed to take the AstraZeneca?
I wouldn't say that they're not supposed to, but I think the data has just looked into women who've had Pfizer and Moderna and has said categorically that that's safe. So I think those are the two that we'd recommend. But the data also suggested that if a woman had had their first dose of AstraZeneca, for example, and were to fall pregnant, that it's advisable for them just to have the second dose of AstraZeneca rather than mixing and matching vaccinations. But overall, Pfizer and Moderna are the two that pregnant women, it's been shown, are safe in pregnancy. So those are the two that we can say, yes.
Okay. In fact, I'll pose that same question to Dr. Abigail. I need her views on that one as well. Doc, why Moderna and Pfizer and not AstraZeneca for our pregnant women?
I think just adding to what Stephanie has said, when they did the trials in the US where we vaccinated over 200,000 women, it was the AstraZeneca and the Moderna ones that were used. So those are the ones that we know for sure are safe, because thus far there's still not been any data to show that there's been any adverse outcomes on the women or the babies. So we know the safety profile of those two in particular. Another reason for not recommending the AstraZeneca in pregnancy is the concern that I'm sure most people are aware of the increased, slightly increased risk of blood clots, which has been associated with the AstraZeneca. And we know that this is mainly in the younger population as well. which is what most of our pregnant women tend to fall in that category. And so for these reasons, it's recommended to avoid AstraZeneca in pregnancy if possible. But as Steph has said, if you've already got a first vaccine, the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, and have not experienced any side effects, then it's recommended to go for the second dose, because overall, the benefit of being vaccinated, fully vaccinated with the AstraZeneca, probably outweighs the risks of any potential side effects, such as blood clots or other unknown effects that we don't know about.
All right. Thank you very much. So, pregnant women, when you are going for it, please, if they say AstraZeneca, say no. Jasmine.
Can I just add on to
add to that one, yeah.
Yeah, so I think just, yes, you said AstraZeneca in the States, but it's actually, as Stephanie said, it was the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. But and in terms of the blood clot risk with the AstraZeneca, so if women are pregnant, it's a very rare complication, but also just to reassure women that pregnancy does not put them at increased risk of getting the blood clot. So that's also something we would say to them. And as Dr. Stephanie said, if they did have one dose, they would then recommend, that they carry on with the second dose, providing they win the age limit to have the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. I'll stay with you and ask of the boosters. I know they are talking about some boosters coming in here and there, right? So that one too, pregnant women are okay to have it?
So the boosters, so at the moment, I know it's been rolled out for staff and obviously for certain age groups that will be having boosters. So pregnant women at the moment, I'm not sure, I'll be very honest, whether they'll be offered boosters as well, because by the time, in terms of the pregnancy interval, potentially is also 9 months. So maybe some of them would have probably, delivered by then. But so I'm unsure at the moment whether they'll be offered boosters currently. But certainly it's been discussed, and in the health sector we'll be having boosters, and we've already been told when we'll be having the flu vaccine probably be administered at the same time, regarding boosters, and obviously in the general population as well, and other vulnerable.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. We've been talking to Dr. Abigail Prempeh. The name you should know where she comes from. Dr. Stephanie Adeyemi, my countrywoman, and then Miss Jasmine Leons. We've been talking about COVID vaccine hesitancy in pregnancy. The abled men, abled women, and what have you are all, even some of them are resistant taking the vaccine. Some have been written to several times, and anytime the letter comes, they either burn it or they shred it. They don't want to go and take it. How much more women who are pregnant? Today, our wonderful experts are giving us information that will put our minds to rest as to why it is important for us to take the vaccine even when we are pregnant. I asked of which of the vaccine, if you are pregnant, it is recommended you take: Moderna and Pfizer. The AstraZeneca has some concerns with the blood clot. So when you are pregnant, I'm very certain the system will be able to pick up and give you which one is appropriate for you. So you don't need to worry so much about that. Today, I think I'll open the phone lines for questions from the public. So if you are within the United Kingdom, it's 0208 144 8180. 0208 144 8180. From the United States, it's 315 636 4063. 315 636 4063. And you prefer the Skype, Aqu24 Radio altogether. Aqu24 Radio altogether. COVID vaccine hesitancy in pregnancy. I'll ask Dr. Adeyemi. I know you have told us that it is okay for pregnant women to take the vaccine, but are there any other conditions that if a pregnant woman is having, it is not recommended for them to take the vaccine. In general, you are saying it's okay, but are there any other conditions that if a pregnant woman is having, it is not advisable for them to take the vaccine?
To my knowledge, no, unless maybe you have an allergy to any of the ingredients within the vaccination. I'm not entirely sure if there's any medical condition from the reading that I've done that means the vaccine isn't safe for you to take. I would just like to pass the question on to the other two ladies, as they may be more aware than I am. But to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Apart from maybe an allergy, I'm not entirely sure what kind of conditions would stop you being able to access the vaccination.
Okay. All right. And then I think we pass the baton to Dr. Abigail and then to Jasmine. Any particular conditions a pregnant woman may have that makes it unadvisable for her to take the vaccine? Yes, Dr. Abigail.
Yes. So yeah, as Steph said, general contraindications to vaccination, such as any allergies to the things that are in the vaccine. And some, I think most people will have had a history of such a thing, and they will know, and therefore they can probably go and read in detail the things that are in before they go for the vaccine. If you've also had the COVID-19 infection recently, and I think it's within a month or so, then it's recommended that you do wait until after that time has passed for you to get the vaccination. But to my knowledge, those are the two main contraindications, unless Dr. Jasmine knows of others, that for which reason people shouldn't go for the vaccine. So, on to Dr. Jasmine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, initially, I think when AstraZeneca was being rolled out, and obviously you had women that had clotting problems, etc. So again, that was something that was sort of specified. But apart from that, when people who've had sort of anaphylaxis or any other conditions, then contraindicating the use of the vaccine, that would be the stipulation. But other than that, yeah, fair to have, really.
Okay. Sometimes I wonder. I know that I'm looking at the data. Some people may have some side effects here and there after the vaccine, but when you compare it to the number of people who are okay after taking the vaccine, it sounds okay one way or the other. Could you please just talk to us a little bit about that? Why people tend to focus on the little part that may have some issues here and there after taking the vaccine, and not concentrate on the huge number of people that after taking the vaccine they look okay. As myself, after taking the vaccine, I'm still all right. Everything is intact, and so I'm very glad. So why do people focus on that little portion of people that have issues, a little issues here and there after taking the vaccine, but not look at the majority that are okay after taking the vaccine?
Yeah, so I think people have to remember that nothing is without, side effects. And if you take, it's no different to taking, a particular drug. If you look at the British National Formulary for any drug that, that's on the market, you'll always have sort of general side effects. And a lot of them tend to be things like, it could be, well, with the vaccine specifically, you have a bit of headache or a bit of a sore arm. You may have a, sort of flu-like illness. And people have to remember as well the common cold, the vaccine that we have for flu, and for flu will have these sort of side effects. And the majority of people who have the vaccine will probably have no side effects, but these are just mild. So I think it's just a matter of putting things in perspective. People think, oh well, am I at risk, or because it's a new vaccine, am I putting myself at risk? So focusing on that element of it, rather than looking at the overall benefit of whether this is a life and death situation, preventing hospitalization, preventing severe illness, needing intensive care. So I think it's just, not looking at it in a balanced perspective. But I think as well, some of the anti-vaxxers out there, again, are trying to push that and say, oh, these are side effects. but people need to put into perspective that these are general side effects of other vaccines and happily given safely to people in general population as well as in pregnant women. And pregnant women have flu vaccines and they also have whooping cough vaccines, with similar side effects. And we put the COVID vaccine in a similar category to these vaccines. So that should help to reassure women as well in terms of putting the side effects into perspective.
Thank you. A very interesting interesting question here for Dr. Adeyemi. Doc, this woman, she's trying to get pregnant. She's not pregnant yet. She's not trying to get pregnant. Is it advisable for her to take the vaccine?
Yes, again, the data doesn't suggest that the vaccine impacts fertility at all. And I know that was a concern that some people had when maybe it would impact fertility, but the evidence suggests it does not at all. So it would be advisable for her to have the vaccine, definitely.
Okay, all right. So one source of concern is being cleared. It is okay. You can still get pregnant when you take the vaccine. I saw Dr. Abigail nodding her head just like that. Do you want to add to that?
Yes, just that, that is seems to be quite a big concern for a lot of people in terms of fertility. But as Dr. Steph has said, it is safe both for women who are trying to get pregnant or wanting to get pregnant in the future, as well as the men as well, because again, that is something that was of some concern for some of the men, that they were concern it might affect their sperm count and whatnot. But it is completely safe to do so. It doesn't impact fertility. And it is recommended by the British Fertility Society that both men and women seeking to get pregnant should be vaccinated. What we do know is that men who do get COVID-19, there is data coming out there that rather can affect fertility in terms of what the sperm count and the testes, and so it is actually advisable if somebody wants to preserve their fertility to try and get the vaccine when they are called out to get it.
Wow. That's a bait, to say that.
Obviously, we're not saying everybody that get COVID-19 vaccine is going to have their fertility affected in terms of men, but we're saying that data is coming out there that you are increased risk of having problems with fertility, with the sperm count if you get COVID-19.
Jasmine, that I think you want to add to that. Jasmine.
Yeah, so in terms of aspect as well, I think the other to mention is about couples or women who are actually going through fertility treatment. So that's another area. So not just thinking about having a baby or embarking on a pregnancy, but actually those actually having fertility treatment, they can also have the vaccine. It might just be that they would need to speak to their fertility specialists, just in terms of the timing of the vaccine, just because of the side effects, that can occur. So, but it's again, the British Fertility Society have clearly stated that they could have the vaccine even undergoing fertility treatment as well, just to add to what Dr. Steph and Dr. Abigail have said.
Yeah, okay, all right. I think this person may not have joined us earlier, but I'll just let Jasmine throw a little bit more light on that. So there are no related instances between miscarriage and the vaccine taken by pregnant women. That is the question.
Yes, so there's no increased risk of miscarriage with taking the vaccine. We know that miscarriages are very common in the general population. So probably 1 in 4 women will have a miscarriage. Now, there have been some episodes of incidents of miscarriages. Some of them have been obviously in the first trimester, which again is the most, so in the first sort of 12 weeks of pregnancy, which is the most common time in the pregnancy to actually have miscarriage. And it may not be vaccine related, but certainly the evidence is that there's no increased risk of miscarriage with the vaccine.
All right, evidence. Science is based on evidence. So the evidence they have now indicates that it does not increase any risk of miscarriage. So please, please, and please, we've been hearing several stories here and there as to activists or anti-vaccine campaigners who are dying of the COVID, and it's quite disturbing. So the evidence that we are hearing today, perhaps you should also equally read for yourself, but make sure, as our doctors have said, be very, very mindful of where you get your information. Make sure at least it's from the NHS website. Is that the best place to get information, or you will recommend any other place where we can get reliable information on COVID issues? Any particular place, Jasmine? Where?
Yeah, so we recommend the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and also the Royal College of Wives, and also Public Health, England websites. You've got the Joint Committee on Vaccination, so I would say these are the trusted sources and places to look for the information. Yes. And there's lots of information available out there.
Don't listen to the conspirators. They will put fear in you. They will put a lot of fear in you. So get your information from the right sources, and get the vaccination done. I think is the best of all ways. So I'm very certain all you women have taken the vaccines now, right?
Yes.
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 Did you take it because of your job requirements, or you just wanted to take it? Which is which? Jasmine.
Who wants to? Yeah. Well, I took it again, having see all the data coming out, and I think the pandemic has been like no other. I mean, in terms of our lifetime, we heard about SARS and other pandemics in the past, and I think it's unlike any other. And also seeing young people are coming now, the new variants coming through, and young people are now getting COVID. So I think it was the best option, I think, for me to protect myself, protect my family, and certainly the job that we do, where we have to deal with women and deal with other members of staff around. So I thought it was the best way to protect myself, protect friends, family, loved ones, and patients and women we expose ourselves to. So definitely, I think it's the best, and the evidence is there to support having it, I think. So.
Okay, all right. Let's ask Dr. Adeyemi this very important question. If a pregnant woman takes the vaccine, are there any special monitoring that will be done on her, different from any other woman, or it's just normal? Are there any special monitoring that should be done on pregnant women when they take the vaccine?
To my knowledge, I wouldn't have thought there's anything different that would be done. So I think after everyone has the vaccination, there's a 15-minute waiting period that you have, 15 to 30 minutes before you go home. And there's a way you can report any side effects, but that goes for anyone, pregnant or not pregnant. So I wouldn't have thought there's anything different that would need to be done. Obviously, if a pregnant woman has vaccination, has any concerns, it's obviously advisable for her to liaise with any healthcare professionals, her midwife, come in to speak to a doctor. I wouldn't have thought there's any particular monitoring that would need to be done. Please correct me if I'm wrong or mistaken.
There is no monitoring required.
Could you please say that again, Jasmine? Yeah.
No extra monitoring would required, what Dr. Steph said. So there's the waiting period as we'd monitor anybody who's having the vaccine. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. I think you're putting our minds to rest now, because I think I can feel what our women are going through, with all these conspirators all around, even for adults, and you being pregnant, it's quite a challenge either to take it or not to take it. So I'm glad we are bringing this subject home, so that we'll be able to have a peace of mind going forward. But one thing that scares me a little bit is that bit of fertility, right? I think Dr. Abigail said that, right? That if you have COVID, it might affect, as a man, your fertility. So it doesn't affect the woman. If a woman gets COVID, it doesn't affect her fertility chances, right? That again, Dr. Abigail.
Well, it's just the data that we're getting that is coming through. So currently we do know that, yes, it's coming through that it will affect men. As far as I know, we've not had any data coming through that it might affect women's fertility, but it's an ongoing thing, and we're collecting more and more evidence, more and more data, and we'll be sharing that with people as it comes out.
Okay. All right. This one to Jasmine. One of my friends who is seriously avoiding the vaccine told me he read somewhere that one scientist is saying all the very ones who have taken the vaccine will die in 2 years.
I don't know who produces this sort of information, I tell you, if it's not what's in the vaccine, then yeah, but certainly not. And that's certainly misinformation. And and I think anybody who's got that, again, we just advise, go and have a proper read, go to trusted sources, speak to, the correct health professionals to get that information. But totally, that's a red herring.
Let me ask you this, right? I know maybe professionally you might not be able to open up to tell us this, but what gave rise to some of these conspiracies, worries about vaccines in the time past? What gave rise to that? Did anything happen in the past when it comes to vaccines that are still stuck in the minds of many people, even in the 21st century?
I think it depends on what sort of populations you're looking at as well. And so, for example, there's some people feel, even in like African communities, for example, that people have been experimented on. Then there's a bit of that. There's also the other theories that have been going on with vaccines in general, like the 5G theory. That so how they generate these sort of theories, I have no idea. But some people sort of hold on to these things, and you have lots of mass gatherings of people following certain individuals, and people who are meant to be reputable in some of their professions. So I think that's certainly not been helping some of these theories that have been spreading. But I think vaccines in general, always people feel, you're injecting something foreign into me, and it's either going to change my DNA or it's going to change him as a person. So there is still that fear lingering on, I think, from vaccines, even in the past. So there will always be that campaign, I think, of these anti-vaxxers who try to instill fear into people to have vaccines.
Mm-hmm. I see. When you spoke of DNA, one thing that came to mind. So if a pregnant woman supposedly takes the vaccine, and as per some of the conspirators, it changes the DNA of the baby. It means it may cause some troubles in future if the daddy wants to check the DNA of the All right, Dr. Adeyemi. Just as I asked Jasmine, I know if the name is just anything to go by, Nigeria, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, there's been several stories in Nigeria when it comes to some of these vaccines here and there. I don't know if I would just label them under the conspirators theories or what have you. Some people are also some people saying they want to depopulate Africa and what have you. Just throw a little bit more light on that. What gave rise? What gave rise to some of these concerns when it comes to vaccines?
I think there are a number of different factors. I can only go by my understanding of things. So I may not be able to speak for everyone, but just speaking as someone who is Nigerian, who speaks to people from the Nigerian community, I think maybe some of the theories come from maybe a lack of trust in Western medicine. I think maybe there are concerns as well. I think maybe there is also a religious element to it. So I think there are a number of different places where some of these conspiracy theories are coming from. But we can see that the same vaccinations that are being given out in Africa are also being distributed across the world as well. So I think that idea of the vaccinations being used to depopulate Africa doesn't really hold any weight, because we're having the same vaccinations in the West, in other countries too. I think it's coming from maybe a lack of understanding, a lack of trust in Western medicine. Where that comes from, I couldn't exactly say, but I think there's just a lack of trust. And I do think there is a religious element from my understanding of it as well. But I do think, speaking as someone who identifies as Christian, who goes to church and has seen some of the conspiracy theories that have gone around, I would also say that when the vaccination was being developed and when COVID first hit, we were all kind of looking for something to help. And we were praying for a cure. We were praying for something to help us through this difficult time. And now the vaccinations are here. There seems to be a lot of mistrust, but surely that's what we were hoping for. We were hoping for something that would help us in our time of need. So I think it's more just about us as a community or as people, regardless of which community you're from, kind of doing more research and understanding, because I think once we understand, that will enable us to be empowered to make the right decisions for ourselves, and to kind of understand that actually maybe some of the views we hold, there is no basis for them. But I think that comes from understanding, looking at the information out there and making the choices.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Jasmine wants to add to that, right? Oh.
I think in addition, I think with the Black community, because of course we've had the whole campaign of the uptake of the vaccine within the the Black community, and I think one of the things as well is they think about the trials and not being done on enough Black people as one of the things as well, in terms of hesitancy, which again, you think trials are sort of multiracial, and lots of participation from different ethnic groups, which again, they need to go and look at the facts and go and read the facts around that. So that's one of the things I think that's also contributed to the lack of trust, as Dr. Stephanie said, and some of the hesitancy amongst the Black population, in addition to some of the religious elements, some of the issues around the ingredients in the vaccine. But also you heard, again, the theories on the internet around, for example, Bill Gates Foundation. You may have, some people reading that and saying, that they're, again, trying to experiment with, with African people. So again, so there's lots of people could read a lot of that out there, which they try to support their reasons to mistrust vaccine.
Okay, all right. On our last question, I think we will adopt the strategy of the people who sell insurance, right? What are the possible consequences that could happen to a pregnant woman who does not take the vaccine and gets COVID? What are some of the possible consequences that could happen to a pregnant woman who does not take the vaccine and gets COVID? What are some of the possible consequences? I'll start with Dr. Abigail. Dr. Ayemi follows, and then Jasmine runs up with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we know that pregnant women who get the COVID infection are more likely to get serious infections. So as we know, a lot of people in the general population may just have mild symptoms and might be okay, may be able to maybe feel unwell for a couple of days, or some people don't even know that they've got the infection at all. But if you are pregnant and you get COVID-19, you are more likely to have serious infection, which requires being admitted in hospital. and also requiring intensive care unit, which is another step. So that means that you may need ventilation, which is a tube going down your throat to help you with breathing. So we're talking about people who are quite unwell that need intensive care unit. So that risk is increased if you are pregnant. We also know that if you are pregnant, you are more likely to deliver your baby early. So before you're completed your full 9 months, as they say, but 37 weeks we say in the medical profession, you're 2 to 3 times more to have your baby delivered early. And that means that there can be implications in terms of the baby's lungs not being quite as developed as it should be, problems with feeding, and needing a long stay in the special baby care unit, or maybe even the intensive and the pediatric or neonatal intensive care unit. We also know that in terms of mode of delivery, you're more likely to require cesarean section if you have COVID-19 in pregnancy compared to if you don't have COVID-19. And although cesarean sections are great and they're life-saving when indicated, obviously compared to a vaginal birth, there are some slightly increased risks in terms of more likely to be bleeding, infection, more likely to be possibility of damage to nearby organs, etc. So these are some of the things that can happen in pregnancy if you've got COVID-19. There is also slightly increased evidence coming out that there's increased risk of stillbirth, that is losing the baby altogether. And I think that's something that most women will find quite alarming. It's not a big risk. I think we've seen about 1 in 100 of the women that were admitted with COVID-19 were losing their babies. But that is higher than what we do have in the general non-pregnant, pregnant population without COVID-19, which is about 1 in 200. So about twice the risk of losing your baby altogether at some point during the pregnancy. We know that if you've got additional risk factors, then some of all these things are more likely to be higher. So if you're from the Black and ethnic minority group, or if you're overweight, or over the age of 35, or you've got other medical problems like diabetes or high blood pressure, then all these risks are higher. So I think a lot of the people that in our community, certainly they've got the risk factor definitely of being from the Black and ethnic minority. They might have some of the other risk factors of perhaps being overweight or being slightly older or having some other background risks. So these are the very people who are at increased risk of some of these things I've been talking about, and who really is really recommended for them to get the vaccine to try and minimize some of these increased risks in pregnancy.
I think you should add selling insurance to your profession. You are very good at letting us know the risk involved. Dr. Adeyemi, do you want to add to that?
I feel that Dr. Abigail really summarized the information very articulately. And again, just to stress, it's very important that women who are pregnant do seek out the vaccination. As she covered all of the risk factors and all of the consequences of not having it extremely succinctly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. A very interesting question here, Dr. Adeyemi, right? Are men with pot bellies also at any... Oh, why are you laughing? Any advice for men with pot bellies? Should they go for it quickly, or it doesn't matter?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, they definitely should have the vaccination. Again, it's advisable for everyone, but I imagine maybe, yes, I'll just leave it there. Yes, they should.
Okay,
they should have the vaccination.
So if a man is with a pot belly, it's advisable that they take the vaccine quickly, right?
Yes, definitely. Okay. It's definitely advisable.
Okay, all right. Jasmine, one of my friends has some pot belly, and I've been telling him, please go and take it.
Yes, Take it. Yeah,
You
you
should.
should
You
take
should.
it.
Okay. Okay. All right. And if, I think
It's okay.
yes, yeah. Start again, please. I think you were breaking up, so start again with what you wanted to say.
Yeah, so I think well to follow on with the additional risks, I think Dr. Abigail covered it brilliantly, and I think there's slight increased risk of babies being distressed. You know, women are unwell in labour, and a slight increased risk of blood pressure problems, so-called or preeclampsia, which is another risk factor for women with COVID. And yeah, the pot belly, definitely your friend. Yes, he should have the vaccine.
All right, then. Thank you very much, beautiful ladies, for today. And who is doing the PR for one-to-one mentoring network today? Who is talking about PR one-to-one network, one-to-one mentoring network today? Is it Jasmine or?
Well, let's definitely do that. But just I thought just to summarize as well, I think even though we're advising women to have the vaccine, I think it's important to say that, you know, there will be women who will not have the vaccine. And we also need to say that what they should do in the meantime. So things like, you know, hand washing, also, you know, ensuring, you know, social distancing measures, wearing a mask if they're in, you know, sort of, you know, crowded spaces, etc., and minimizing a lot of contacts. So I just think we just need to bear that in mind. And even for women who have had the vaccine, you know, who still, you know, you can obviously still contract COVID even if you haven't had the vaccine. So just to still make sure that we adhere and they adhere to these sort of measures as well. And just to make sure that women can access information and make a choice that's right for them, to speak to their GP, speak to their midwife, and again, as we said, to, you know, speak to go to trusted sources to get the information and make a decision that's right for them. I think we need to be balanced as well in our
right.
approach.
All right. Speaking of that, just a little touch on the new variant and our pregnant women. Just a little bit on that, and also now the government has relaxed many of the protocols when it comes to virtually there are no protocols, I would say, right, when it comes to this COVID saga. Any particular advice that you can give to the general public in times like this, because people have taken off their guard here and there? Any general advice that you can give to the general public concerning the situation?
Yeah, I think you're right. It is disturbing to see that. I think, you know, some people are behaving that, you know, COVID has gone away and it's all finished, and, you know, so I think we all need to be vigilant, and in our activities, yes, restrictions have been, you know, lifted in many areas, but I think certainly we're going to public transport, wearing a mask, you know, supermarkets, crowded areas, and obviously maintaining social distancing. And, you know, in terms of minimizing as much contact, you know, we all want us to be with family, meet with friends, but I think we just need to try and be responsible and, you know, think of others as well as ourselves in trying to reduce the risk of contracting COVID. So we are seeing new variants, younger people are coming through, and the variant is more transmissible, and we're getting severe illness as well. And certainly with the pregnant women, the Delta variant is more prominent in the last batch of admissions. So we do need to be vigilant in every respect.
All right. Anything to add, Dr. Adeyemi and Dr. Abigail?
I think Dr. Jasmine has covered it all really. It is important to still be sensible about all the things that we've been doing to try and minimize our risks of getting COVID-19. And yes, we just need to continue to do that really. Yeah, both pregnant and non-pregnant.
Mm-hmm. And the pot bellies. Add that one for me, please. Yeah.
Especially the pot bellies as well, yes. Because I think if you have a pot belly, you probably might be a little bit overweight as well, and that put you in the category of people who are more likely to get some of these adverse effects if they do get COVID, in terms of being hospitalized and needing intensive care unit, etc. So definitely, I would recommend it for anyone with a pot belly.
Good one there. Dr. Adeyemi, I think you will do the PR for one-to-one mentoring network for us today, where people can find you, what you do beyond just talking on the radio, and then where we can definitely be getting in touch with you.
Okay, so One-to-One Mentoring Network, we're a non-for-profit mentoring support network and registered charity. We're driven and delivered primarily by experienced high-achieving professionals from the Black and minority ethnic community, or Black and minority ethnic community. The aim of the program really is to provide robust bespoke mentoring through one-to-one mentoring, through coaching, through something we call our Bridge program, which is aimed at young Black men in particular, as well as having a parenting academy as well, so the Heritage Parenting Academy. So we have loads of different ways in which we can support members of the Black and minority ethnic community, and we can be found on Facebook, so One-to-One Mentoring Network. We are also on Instagram as well as our website. Our website is probably the best place to find us, and that's one-to-one-mentoringnetwork.com.
Okay. Well, it says on the poster that I got that you are a junior doctor, right?
Yes.
Have you been mentored through any of your studies by anyone from One-to-One Mentoring Network?
Yes. So Dr. Jasmine is my mentor. And so we've been working together for the last few months. And I can definitely say that I've noticed an improvement in the way that I kind of approach my career, and as well as some of the decisions I'm also making in my personal life as well. So I definitely can say I've been through the program, and it's amazing. It's definitely worth joining for sure.
The light is still on you. Tell us one thing that you can share with us that has changed with you after you being mentored by Dr. Jasmine.
I would definitely say it's given me more confidence to kind of navigate my career. I think coming into medicine, so I graduated in 2019, so I've been a doctor for the last 2 years or so, and I think I hadn't really seen any extremely senior Black female consultants before until I met her, and so I think it's been a real privilege having her as my mentor, because I've been able to talk through some of the worries and fears I've had, and she's been able to kind of reassure me and give me the confidence to know that I can get to where I want to be. So I definitely think that's really, really helped.
Dr. Jasmine, kudos.
Well, thank you. It's a two-way thing, and I think thanks to Steph for saying that. But we as mentors, we also learn from our mentees, and so we also grow and develop. But it's good to be able to make an impact, and I think that's the whole value of the whole organization. And for mentors and mentees, growing together. So I think definitely recommend our network, certainly.
Thank you very much, beautiful ladies, for making time to put our minds to rest when it comes to taking this vaccine, even while you are pregnant. Your explanations have set a platform for many people to just read further and come to the understanding that it is a beautiful thing. It is a good thing to take the vaccine when even you are pregnant. Thank you so much for today, and we hope to see you more often in the few weeks ahead of us. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Abigail. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
To live and not know what state of God you are, it's a disaster. To not know your purpose is a tragedy, it's a disaster. To live and not know what state of God you are, it's a disaster. To not know your purpose is a tragedy, It's a disaster. You may tomorrow be gone. Tomorrow may never come. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up to purpose for living now. That in this you will build your soul. In this you will be the difference. In this you will be the answer to the prayers of humanity. In this you will build your soul. In this you will be the difference. In this you will be the answer to the prayers of humanity. To live and not know what state of God you are, it's a disaster. To not know your purpose is a tragedy, it's a disaster. Sunshine, rainfall, half spins, the wind blows, harmony, symphony, purpose. Sunshine, rainfall, half spins, the wind blows, harmony, symphony, purpose. The world is waiting on you. Wake up, wake up, wake up to purpose for living now. And this you will build your soul. And this you will be the difference. And this you will be the answer to the prayers of humanity. And this you will build your soul. And this you will be the difference. And this you will be the answer to the prayers of humanity. To live and I know